Let's take things indoors for the WNBA as we take a look at the current power rankings. No surprise, it is the Lynx on top, the only team this season to not lose double-digit games, but they are dealing with some issues. Napheesa Collier going to be sidelined with an ankle injury, so we'll see how that affects the rankings. You have the Aces as well. They have had a roller coaster of a season, 15-14, not where we're used to seeing them at 8, but the Fever up a spot to number 3. Certainly a lot to keep our eye on. We also had a trade earlier that we're going to get into, and to do so, we welcome in our WNBA analyst, Ty Carter. Ty, we got to start at the top. No surprise that the Lynx stay right there. There are some concerns, though, with MVP. I mentioned it. Napheesa Collier going to miss some time with an ankle injury. Do you anticipate this team still being at the top over the next couple of weeks without her, or how do you think that injury will impact the rankings?
Yeah, I don't think it'll impact them in particular, just for the fact that they've only lost 5 games this year. Like they are tumbling across the rankings by all means. So I think they'll be fine in that sense. But you also think about the schedule coming up. They have a rematch on Sunday with the New York Liberty, and they're going to be without Napheesa Collier for that game. But exciting for them also seeing that they traded for Dejanay Carrington. And she is a specialist when it comes to the defensive end of the floor. And so I think with Napheesa out, it also gives them an opportunity to more seamlessly work her in to their offense and their lineup. And you can look to her to do what she does, I think, on the defensive end of the floor. But when you see the Minnesota Lynx, they're solid across the boards, and there's chemistry on that roster. Bringing in Dejanay Carrington, she's already played with Natisha Heidemann before. She's played with Courtney Williams before for the Connecticut Sun. And then you also add Alana Smith. They were teammates in college at Stanford. And so I think right now we have to look at it more as potentially a positive sign for them to be able to add this addition in Dejanay Carrington. And it's going to be gruesome, right? It kind of sucks not having Napheesa Collier. She's on this MVP pair this season right now. But I think if you're going to lose her, now would be the time, especially when you have such a lead ahead of the teams that are below you.
It's interesting that you mentioned missing Napheesa Collier. I actually missed Dejanay Carrington in Dallas because she left us behind, so we wish her well, but certainly need some help out in D-Town. Let's continue the conversation, though, with the Atlanta Dream because we see them move up in the rankings. They come in at number 2. Ty, this has been such a fun team to watch, just to see the potential over the last few years finally being realized here. What have you thought of the Dream this season, and how far realistically can this team go?
Well, Haley, number 2 in the rankings and number 2 in offensive rating in the league. They are prolific when it comes to scoring the basketball, and they play an unselfish brand of basketball. And I think that's why Atlanta has found so much success. They have post presence, but they also have guard play. And for you to be successful in this league, you need a little bit of both. And they have found that. Now, if there wasn't a player named Napheesa Collier in the league and Sabrina Ionescu, I think we could clearly say that Alicia Gray could be somebody as a front runner for the MVP. And so she has done everything when it comes to the Atlanta Dream this particular season. And so within that, I think that they could make a deep run. Last year, they lost in the first round to the New York Liberty, and I could see them potentially going to the second round this year or even further if they continue to keep it up. They've been a team who has been up and down this year, and I think that's their Achilles heel. But regardless of that, I think they're a team who could definitely make a playoff run.
Just looking at the highlights and watching how they've been moving the basketball around, it's been much improved from a year ago. So excited there. If we go over to Indiana, there's still no timetable on Caitlin Clark's return, but it's interesting how this conversation has changed over the weeks. Ty, it went from what are they going to do without Caitlin to now it's kind of like they're not doing bad. They come in at number 3. They're riding a 5-game winning streak. I mean, is there a concern level for Indiana with or without Caitlin here?
We have to look at it this way. Tonight is going to mark their 30th game of the season. Caitlin Clark has only been available for 13 games this whole time in 2025. So they have played more games without Caitlin than with her, and they have been able to find what it means to win games without their star player. And so I don't think it really rides a concern. If anything, it puts them in a spot to chill a little bit. You don't have to rush her recovery or getting back because they've been able to build this cushion. For the first time since 2015, the Indiana Fever are 5 games above 500. That is 10 years in the making for this squad. And so I think they're on a great upward trajectory right now on the 5-game win streak, and they found a rhythm and a groove together with the supporting cast that they have to go along with Kelsey Mitchell and the others.
You see it there, 5-1 since the All-Star break. So like you said, they are figuring it out without her. It's good to have her presence, though, and you'd like to see her back on the floor. The Fever are going to take on the Sparks tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern. Let's talk about the defending champs, Ty, because the Liberty have been the favorites to win the championship again all season long, but it just feels like it hasn't been perfect. Every week they're dealt a new hand, and the latest power ranking sees them fall from 2 to 4. And, of course, they've got the news of Stewie being sidelined as well here. How has your perspective changed on this team, seeing how they've dealt with adversity and where they're at right now?
Well, it's been tough because you get Jonquel Jones back, then you lose Stewie. So it's like pick your poison within that. They have been without a superstar, I would say, for a good stretch of their games within this season. Sabrina Ionescu, she was out for a period of time as well. And so with them, I would say that they get like a B- in dealing with adversity and how they've had to snap back. They were on a 4-game skid and they were able to get a win over Connecticut to end that. But for them, I think it's going to be about finding the sources of how they're going to play ball defensively when they lose players like Brianna Stewart. I don't think their scoring is ever in question, but it's the defensive end of the floor that lacks when people are out.
Let's talk about the Storm next, Ty. They come in a spot back from a week ago at number 7, but big news is that they're going to get a boost. They traded for Brittany Sykes earlier today. They sent Alicia Clark and a 2026 first-rounder to Washington in exchange for the mix. We saw Brittany Sykes really break out this year. She got her first All-Star nod and was so special to watch her there. How do you see that carrying over now with her new team, especially when you think about how Seattle's kind of been that middle-of-the-pack team this year?
I think it'll definitely be interesting because for the Washington Mystics, Brittany Sykes has been asked to do a lot when it comes to scoring the basketball. But also we have to think about what she has done. And as far as her defense goes, she's been an all defensive guard before. And then also within that, Brittany Sykes is a player who feeds off of great energy. So you're bringing her into a veteran group from the team in the league who is the youngest. And so I think that's going to make all the difference for the Seattle Storm because you don't have to baby her or wean her in. She already has that experience, especially having to be that leader that she was in Washington this season with that young group.
The Lynx are going to take on the Storm later tonight. Probably won't see her in the mix, it's safe to say there, but excited to see what she can do in a new location. Let's talk about the Aces, Ty, because again, and this speaks to the parity that we've seen in the WNBA, right? So it's not all bad. It's good stuff to see other teams catching up. But for an Aces team that we're used to seeing 1, 2, maybe 3 if it's a down year, right? They come in this week at number 8 in the power rankings here, and we've seen them win blowout games. We've seen them get blown out recently here. What's your gauge on what's going on in Las Vegas, and is this a championship team at this point of the season?
I'll answer your question the second end. No, this is not a championship team at this point in the season. They just lost by 53 points to the Lynx on Saturday, and I think that tells it all. You can't have games like that where sometimes you're good and sometimes you are just awfully bad. And so the Las Vegas Aces, they'll have to figure out what team they want to be at this second half, and they haven't yet figured that out.
It's a tough watch, but we're going to power through it. Ty, we appreciate the time looking at our power rankings for this week as the WNBA season continues. Taking a look at the games tipping off tonight. I mentioned my Wings. We are not very good, and we are taking on the Liberty tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern. Hopefully we can pull out a win there. We just talked about the Lynx. No Nafisa Collier. They're facing the Storm without their new addition, Brittany Sykes, but still a lot of storylines there. And don't forget, the Fever are a 2.5-point underdog at the Sparks tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern, right here on CBS Sports Network. With the Fall Classic right around the corner, the push for the postseason continues on the diamond. How teams are tackling the stretch drive after this.